Good morning, everybody. This is Danny with My Fig Sticks, where fig addiction is a real thing, y'all. Just embrace it. Hey, I was putting labels on my figs this morning, and I just got to thinking about the difference between a tree brought up from a rooted cutting, like this one here, and how straight, pretty, perfect this tree is. But recently I had a viewer put a comment on one of my videos about a mislabeled LSU Gold, and she thought that maybe my tree was a tissue culture tree. I didn't know what that was. I had to look it up. What in the world is a tissue culture fig tree? Wow. There's a lot that goes into that, but this is what a tissue culture fig tree looks like. Notice there's no real new growth. There is finally a new runner coming up here that might turn into my central stem, my trunk, but you see how the growth is pretty wild all over the place, and there's just not a lot other than leaves. So I believe this is a tissue culture fig from all of my research. That's what I'm finding. Now, is tissue culture figs a bad thing? I don't know. Is it a good thing? I don't know that either. That's really why I'm making this video. I was hoping some of you could give some insight on a tissue culture fig versus a rooted or air layered fig. Now, this is not a tissue culture. This is my brown turkey that I cut the top out of to hopefully gain lateral growth at the bottom. I think that was a success. But all of these figs that I bought at nurseries or big box, they all seem to have this same pattern to them. They just grow all over the place. No real organization. This one is putting on new actual growth, but you can see it's just wild. And I think that is a characteristic of a tissue cultured fig. One other thing I wanted to point out, these two right here, these are rooted cuttings from my original Texas Everbearing fig, and they're not all wild and crazy and lacking in growth. I rooted these in December, and look how much growth they've put on. Now, they are a little crazy at the bottom, but other than that, they're growing really, really well. And then right here, this is the first one I showed you. This is the mother tree of those two. Obviously, a tissue culture fig is just not putting on any growth. So I'm very interested to hear if anyone has any experience with tissue culture figs and what their growth habits are. I have gotten a few figs off of these that I bought from nurseries or big box, but not very many. And then the odd thing is, let's see, this LSU Gold right here, obviously a tissue culture. Um, the figs on it, when they ripen, they're dark black. Um, so is that a tissue culture issue, or is this just strictly a mislabeled fig? I'm thinking that it's just mislabeled, but this one is finally putting on some decent growth too. But if you notice, mostly it's just leaves. But then finally here, we've got some new lateral, or I'm sorry, new main stem growth, and I will probably do lots of pruning on this one this winter. But here's yet another tissue culture fig, and there's very little real growth, just lots and lots of leaves. So just checking to see if anyone can explain to me the differences between tissue culture. Now, I looked it up. I saw how they make these tissue culture plants. Y'all, I've watched a lady in her apartment who was doing this at home, and her apartment looked like a lab for real. I mean, there's sterilization boxes, there's all kinds of chemicals. So basically what they do is they take a small piece of cambium off of a fig tree and they put it in a petri dish in some gel, and then they grow a fig from it. And the roots are wild, and I think that's why they have a tendency to look all crazy and weird at the bottom. Probably not something I'm going to get into, tissue culture that is, but if you might be interested in it, I'll try to remember to leave her link in the description. You can check out what tissue culture, what it takes to bring a fig up that way. So y'all, what do you think? Tissue culture versus rooted cutting or air layer? Which is better? Is there a big difference? For all of these crazy shaped figs, do I just prune those this winter and force them to be a single stem, a single trunk? How do I go about getting these to look more like what I want them to look like in this brown turkey back here or this I-258 here? How do I get those tissue cultures, those wild growth, to look that way? Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think. Hopefully, I'm not going to lose anything with these tissue culture fig trees, and I can just prune them and turn them into one of the others. Hey everybody, thank you for watching. This is Danny with My Fig Sticks. Fig addiction's a real thing, you guys. Join the Figolution. Thanks for watching. This is a beautiful fig tree from a rooted fig cutting back in December.